The West Bengal Chief Minister hits out at the centre, asks why was the leader of opposition called for what the BJP is calling a Prime Minister Chief Ministers meet. Appeals to the Prime Minister, allow us to work on COVID and cyclone relief. Don't carry out a political vendetta, not now please. 1,73,000 new COVID cases, the lowest in 45 days, 3,617 COVID deaths in 24 hours. Positivity rate less than 10% for the fifth day in a row. The centre announces a pension scheme for dependents of COVID victims and education loan for kids orphaned by the pandemic. The PMO also states that children having lost parents to COVID will get free health insurance of 5 lakh till they're 18 years of age, with the premium being paid from the PM Cares Fund. 10 hospitals in Telangana lose their license to treat COVID patients after complaints ranging from overcharging to medical negligence. Fuel prices hiked again. Mumbai becomes the first metro city to see petrol rates above 100 rupees per litre. Rates of petrol and diesel on the rise since the 4th of May. The BCCI to conduct the remainder of the IPL 2021 in the months of September and October in the United Arab Emirates. And Pulwama hero Major V.S. Dondeyal's wife earns an army uniform. Lieutenant Nikita Kaur passes out of the Officers Training Academy in Chennai.
He's always going to be part of my life, and even today he's somewhere around.
Hello and welcome. A massive centre versus state row has erupted after the centre, in an unprecedented order, asked the Chief Secretary of West Bengal to report to the North Block by 10 a.m. on the 31st of May. The move by the centre comes after a row over Mamata Banerjee skipping a cyclone assessment meeting with the Prime Minister on Friday. The Chief Minister did, however, meet the Prime Minister. She handed over a report on the damage caused by the cyclone Yas. The Trinamool is now accusing the centre of misusing its powers because they are unable to stomach its defeat in the acrimonious Bengal elections.
It's a political vendetta. If Prime Minister tell me, you touch my feet, I will help Bengal, that also I am ready to do. Every time you are going for confrontation, I gave my...
No letdown in hostile politics between the centre and state. After an acrimonious election and a row over the arrests of senior TMC leaders in the Naroda case, the latest flashpoint. The centre asking the Bengal Chief Secretary Alapon Bandopadhyay to report to the Department of Personnel and Training Office in North Block in the national capital. The move comes as the Chief Secretary is engaged in managing the COVID situation and the aftermath of Cyclone Yas that caused widespread damage. And 4 days after his tenure was extended for 3 months by the centre on the request of the state government. On Friday, the Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee met the Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Kolaikunda Air Base as he arrived in Bengal to take stock of the damage caused by Cyclone Yas. But Mamata Banerjee skipped a detailed meeting later that involved the Governor and Leader of Opposition Shubhendu Adhikari being present.
She came there simply to brief him for about 15 minutes and then went away without attending the meeting. This, I believe, is one of the most serious case of insulting the Prime Minister of India.
Mamata Banerjee says she asked Prime Minister Modi for permission to leave 3 times and left to survey areas affected by Cyclone Yas along with the Chief Secretary only after obtaining it. The centre's orders recalling the Chief Secretary came soon after.
Well, this is not the first time. Even in December last year, the centre had issued orders directing 3 West Bengal cadre IPS officers to report to the centre. But this time, the Chief Secretary of West Bengal has been recalled by the centre without consulting the state. In all likelihood, this matter will reach courts soon.
Mamata Banerjee's bête noire, Shubhendu Adhikari, has accused Mamata Banerjee of insulting Bengal with her actions, and Mamata Banerjee has accused the BJP of the same.
পশ্চিমবঙ্গ সরকারের মাননীয় মুখ্যমন্ত্রী এবং তার মুখ্য সচিব সহ আধিকারিকবৃন্দ যেভাবে প্রধানমন্ত্রীকে এবং ভারত সরকারকে অপমান করেছেন, এই নিন্দার কোনো ভাষা নেই।
Why? In Gujarat last week you went there. Why you not called opposition leader there? It is your state. Even Odisha also opposition leader was not there. In my state, whenever you come, you create some confusion and always you create some confrontation. Why? And I mentioned 3 times, sir, with your kind permission, may I leave? Along with my secretary. Sir, with your kind permission, may we leave? Sir, with your kind permission, may we leave? After that, we went to Dikha and we convened meeting and all this.
The last has not been said on this issue, and the Trinamool Congress says the treatment meted out to Bengal's Chief Secretary is an insult to IAS officers across the country. Mamata Banerjee is backing her Chief Secretary for now, but the matter is clearly political. While the BJP continues to target the Trinamool Congress, the Trinamool Congress harps on the fact that the centre is misusing its powers because the BJP hasn't been able to accept the fact that it lost badly in Bengal to the Trinamool. With Arvind Gunasekhar in New Delhi, in Kolkata, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
And India's COVID-19 graph continues to show a declining trend with 1.73 lakh new COVID cases recorded in the last 24 hours. That's the lowest daily spike in 45 days. Just a month ago or so, the country's daily cases hit a grim world record with 4.14 lakh infections. This is the second consecutive day that we've seen less than 2 lakh cases registered. The positivity rate has been less than 10% for the last 5 days consecutively. And in Delhi, the cases continue to dip. On Saturday, Delhi recorded 956 new COVID-19 cases. That's the lowest in over 2 months. 122 more deaths from the infection, while the positivity rate fell to 1.19% from a high of 36% in March. And the COVID-19 lockdown in Delhi has been extended for another week. With some easing up, manufacturing and construction businesses have been allowed to resume work with conditions.
A sigh of relief for lakhs of construction and factory workers in Delhi as the AAP government announced that these 2 sectors can resume operations under a slight easing up of the lockdown in Delhi. For struggling construction workers like 49-year-old Shankar, the news has brought some hope.
क्या लगता है कि कुछ राहत आपको मिलेगी काम कहीं?
राहत मिलेगी।
अभी तक क्या हालात थे आपकी इस लॉकडाउन में? दूसरी बार लॉकडाउन लगा है, क्या समस्याएं थी आप लोगों को?
अभी तो सर कुछ भी नहीं मिल रहा, काम दाम सब बंद पड़ा है।
Meanwhile, the Delhi government has urged the centre to provide more vaccines, stating that vaccinations must be administered in parallel with the reopening of the economy.
धीरे-धीरे अनलॉक की प्रक्रिया शुरू हो गई है। कुछ ही दिनों में जैसे ऑफिस और कंपनियां और बिजनेसेस खुलने शुरू होते हैं, तो इन युवाओं को ही अपने घर से बाहर निकलना होगा अपने परिवार के पालन पोषण के लिए। हमारी केंद्र सरकार से हाथ जोड़ के अपील है कि युवाओं के लिए ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा वैक्सीन राज्य सरकार को अवेलेबल करवाई जाए।
The decision to cautiously open up, however, has disappointed many.
अभी रोड पे ही सवारी नहीं है, रोड पे ही कोई नहीं मिलता, तो अभी कहाँ से वो काम धंधा होगा? सब ऑफिस वगैरह खुल जाएंगे, फैक्ट्रियाँ वगैरह खुल जाएंगी, तभी काम वगैरह तभी निकलेगा।
सिर्फ एक सरकार ने चालू कर दिए और उन्हें कह दिया कि आप चालू कर दें, लेकिन ये अकेला इतना ही काफ़ी नहीं है। इसके लिए आज फैक्ट्री चलाने के लिए मजदूरों की ज़रूरत है, कच्चे माल रॉ मटेरियल की ज़रूरत है और पूरा एक इकोसिस्टम जिस पर एक इंडस्ट्री और ट्रेड चलता है, वो चाहिए रहता है।
Around 900 COVID cases have been reported in Delhi in the last 24 hours. With Delhi's COVID cases continuing to dip, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has promised more relaxations if the trend holds.
व्यापारियों की व्यथा को मैं समझता हूं, उनकी एंजाइटी को भी समझता हूं और मैं आज अखबारों में पढ़ रहा था कि वो थोड़े नाराज हैं। मैं उनसे कहना चाहता हूं कि देखो, बड़ी मुश्किल से हम लोगों ने महीने 1.5 महीना लॉक करके और स्थिति को काबू पाया है। उसको मैं समझता हूं, लेकिन अभी वो थोड़ी सी पेशेंस रखें, जल्दबाजी ना करें।
Meanwhile, the Delhi government has floated a global tender to procure vaccines, through which the government hopes to procure 1 crore more vaccines, for which the deadline has been set to the 7th of June. With Akshay Dongre in New Delhi, Rohit Wellington for NDTV.
And the centre on Saturday announced a pension for dependents of those who lost their lives due to the COVID-19. Among other benefits for families who lost their earning members to the pandemic, besides family pensions, insurance benefits under the Employees Deposit Linked Insurance or EDLI scheme have also been enhanced and liberalized. Children who have lost both their parents due to COVID-19 will be supported under the PM Cares for Children scheme. These children will get a monthly stipend once they turn 18 and a fund of 10 lakhs when they turn 23. These children will also get assistance to procure higher education loans with the interest being paid from the PM Cares Fund. The PMO has also stated that children having lost parents to COVID-19 will get free health insurance of 5 lakh rupees until they're 18 years of age, with the premium being paid from the PM Cares Fund. And the Prime Minister had tweeted about this earlier today. And the Telangana government has cancelled licenses to treat COVID patients of 10 hospitals and issued notices to another 79 after complaints that ranged from excessive billing to mismanagement from patients.
Pochama says she was forced to shift her COVID-positive son on non-invasive ventilator support from a private hospital to the government-run Koti Hospital at Hyderabad, as she was billed 1 lakh rupees per day at the private facility and she could not afford to pay it even after selling her house. The Telangana government had prescribed rates to be charged by hospitals for different COVID treatment protocols, but they were violated by private hospitals. Based on 115 complaints of excessive billing, show cause notices have now been issued to 79 hospitals and license to treat COVID patients was cancelled to 10 hospitals. Virinchi Hospital lost its license to treat COVID patients second time in a year, this time on a complaint of medical negligence. On Thursday, relatives of a patient marched into the hospital and allegedly attacked the doctor who had treated a 35-year-old COVID patient. But Vamsi Krishna had succumbed after 2 weeks in hospital.
9th, my brother has expired at 9 o'clock. Midnight, 3 o'clock, they have just called us and said that we will refund you the amount. Why? Why is it so for us? We trust the hospital, right?
A police case has been booked against the 16 people who allegedly assaulted the doctor. From March last year, doctors and nurses have been working under extremely stressful conditions non-stop. Patients and their families are also going through their most traumatic times. It's a delicate responsibility on the government to now provide unwavering support to the healthcare professionals while also providing a healing touch to the patients and their families. In Hyderabad, Uma Sudhir, NDTV.
And time now for a special report from Assam, where the tea gardens saw very few COVID infections in the first wave of the pandemic, but now are battling a rapid spread of the coronavirus. Over 6,000 tea garden workers have tested positive across the state. There have been over 40 deaths, and those are only the ones that have been officially reported. NDTV Sanjay Chakravarti travelled to the Tinsukia district to find that with their meagre daily wages, lack of education and poor hygiene, tea workers are even more vulnerable to COVID infections, and that's a major worry for the government, or it should be, because they make up about 18% of Assam's population.
47 years old Manju Tati sings to herself to keep her spirits high as she goes about plucking tea leaves at Kehung Tea Estate in Assam's Tinsukia district. It's the crucial plucking season for Assam tea, and despite strict restrictions in the state, tea gardens are functional. But Manju, who is a mother of 2 young children, is worried. 30 of her co-workers have tested COVID positive in the last few days.
डर तो लग रहा है, जो बागान में हमारा साथ इतना आदमी हम लोग काम करते हैं, हुआ है बहुत कम हुआ है, लेकिन हमारा बागान में बहुत ज़रूरी है ये वैक्सीन लाने के लिए, ये सभी की ज़रूरत है। ऐसे बिना वैक्सीन में तो कब कहाँ कब कैसे हो जाए इसको तो किसी को पता नहीं चलता है।
The estate's labor line, where the workers live, has been declared a containment zone. Positive patients are in COVID care facility inside the state.
Last year there we got hardly any cases at Kehung Tea Estate, but this time we found some cases. So far we got 30 cases at Kehung Tea Estate. Testing and your vaccination is going a little bit slow. We will be requiring more.
the virus seems to be spreading fast. According to Assam government, the state has 800 tea gardens. 370 of them are COVID affected. Only 271 have COVID care centers. Till May 28, 6,146 tea garden workers have tested positive in the second wave. 43 of them have died. The data shows in last 10 days, over 300% spike in cases among tea garden workers. Deaths have also gone up threefold. 57 new COVID care centers have come up, but around 29 affected tea gardens still don't have COVID care centers inside their states. Among tea garden workers, 43% patients have recovered, but there are still 3,500 active cases. The government is reaching out. Assam's Labour and Tea Tribe Welfare Minister Sanjay Kishan, himself from the tea tribe community, is spreading COVID awareness.
बगान पे एक कमेटी कर दिया गया है और वो लोग देख रेख कर रहे हैं ताकि हम सभी जो जानकारी है वो साथों साथ हम हासिल कर सके और वैक्सीन लेना हो या टेस्टिंग करना हो, इसमें भी वो कमेटी सभी को सहायता कर रहा है। जो पॉजिटिव मिला उनको हम लोग हॉस्पिटलाइज करके रखे हैं, लेकिन उनका लड़का बच्चा के लिए खाना पीना के लिए सरकार का तरफ से पूरे घर का राशन के लिए 2,000 रुपया दिया जाता है।
Assam has over 6 lakhs tea garden workers. Till now, about 44,000 of them have received first dose of COVID vaccine. Only over 3,000 of them have also got their second dose.
আর দ্বিতীয়তে যেটো মানে ভ্যাকসিনৰ সিস্টেমটো আমাক মানে বাগিচা অঞ্চলত প্ৰত্যেকটো বাগিচাত ভ্যাকসিনটো কমপ্লিট কৰিব লাগিব দিয়ৰ যাৰ দ্বাৰা মানে আমি সেই মহামাৰীৰ পৰা আমি পৰিত্ৰাণ পাম মানে।
Government's work is cut out. On a PIL, even the Guwahati High Court has sought written reply from the state government before May 31 on the COVID-19 situation in the tea estates. With Sanjay Chakravarti in Tinsukia, in Guwahati, this is Ratndeep Chaudhary for NDTV.
And petrol and diesel prices were hiked across the 4 metros on Saturday, the 29th of May. This is the 15th increase in fuel prices since the 4th of May, when the state-run oil refiners ended an 18-day hiatus in rate revisions observed during assembly elections in states like Tamil Nadu and West Bengal.
It's a century no one is cheering about. For the first time, petrol price in Mumbai has breached the 100 rupee per litre mark. Mumbai is in fact the first metro to cross this unenviable milestone. Diesel too has touched a new high of over 92 rupees a litre. Fuel rates have been hiked across the country for the 15th time this month.
इतना महंगाई बढ़ रहा है और पेट्रोल का भाव भी बढ़ रहा है। गाड़ी तो चलाना जरूरी है, गाड़ी के सिवा दूसरा कुछ अपने पास पर्याय भी नहीं है।
जब इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में पेट्रोल का प्राइस ऑलमोस्ट $100 था, तब हम 90 रुपीस दे रहे थे। अब जबकि वो कम हो चुका है, हम उससे ज्यादा पे कर रहे हैं।
All the metro cities have witnessed a similar hike in fuel rates. In Delhi and Kolkata, petrol is nearly 94 rupees a litre. In Chennai, diesel is at 89 rupees 65 paise per litre. This year, petrol prices have seen a hike of 11%, while diesel prices have risen by 14%. The rising fuel prices could drive up transportation costs, which in turn can have a cascading effect on the prices of essential commodities.
ये तेल की कीमतें इस महामारी के मौके पर और महंगाई उछले स्तर पर है, कम करके इस उद्योग को और 130 करोड़ जनता को राहत दें। लेकिन अब ये लग रहा है कि जो भी हमारी रिप्रेजेंटेशन है वो इस अंधी बहरी गूंगी सरकार को नहीं समझ आ रही है।
In fact, it's not just Mumbai. Petrol is retailing at over 100 rupees a litre in many cities across Maharashtra, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. With Sohit Mishra in Mumbai, Rohit Wellington for NDTV.
Well, the big sports story of the day was a decision that many sports fans were waiting for, the resumption of the IPL, and the BCCI has finally found a window, a slot, September and October. Rika Roy has more.
IPL 2021 that was suspended earlier due to a rise in COVID-19 infections in India is all set to resume in the UAE from the mid of September. BCCI decided to resume it from September. It could happen around 15th to 18th of September and will carry on all the way till mid-October. 31 matches are to be played in a span of 18 or 19 days. Earlier, the secretary of the board, Jay Shah, said considering the monsoon season in India in the months of September, October, this year the decision was taken at the special general meeting today that was held virtually, where the members unanimously agreed to resume the Indian Premier League. Now, what does resumption of IPL really mean? It means that BCCI is able to salvage 2,500 crore rupees. Remember, it's not just the player. There are a lot of people linked with the IPL economy that was suspended earlier in April when it was happening in India due to a rise in COVID infections. Several players started getting infected one by one, not just the players, coaches, officials were also infected. BCCI thought that it wasn't appropriate to get the tournament back to India, hence they decided to have UAE as the venue where they could complete this edition of the tournament. That also and the resumption also mean that in New Zealand's tour of India and South Africa's tour of India just ahead of the ICC World T20 will be cancelled. The other big thing is that the IPL's new schedule is going to clash with the Caribbean Premier League. It will be a question of getting the players from the Caribbean islands also, as well as the South African players who will be involved in the Caribbean Premier League. The English Cricket Board, of course, has told the BCCI that they are not releasing their players. Remember, IPL is accommodated in a window just before the ICC World T20. Now, talking about the ICC World T20, no decision was taken at today's meeting regarding the venue of the tournament. BCCI will request ICC to wait till July. The board is hopeful that infections in India will go down. We will see the second wave of COVID-19 die out by September. They're hopeful, and thereby, they'll be able to stage the tournament in October and November. That decision does not happen till July. That's what they're expecting. The board president, Saurav Ganguly, has also told its members today at the virtual special general meeting that BCCI will get a tax exemption if the ICC T20 World Cup is held in India.
And finally, a little over 2 years ago, Nikita Kaul blew a painful farewell kiss at her simple and sweet love story, standing beside a tricolour-covered coffin in Dehradun one February day in 2019. She kept asking mourners to stay strong, while inside the coffin actually lay her husband, Major Vibhuti Shankar Dondyal. Today, 25 months later, Lieutenant General Y.K. Joshi, the Chief of the Indian Army's Northern Command, pipped the stars on Lieutenant Nikita Kaul's uniform as she passed out of the Officers Training Academy in Chennai. Lieutenant Kaul is now among the 31 Short Service Commission women cadets who graduated on Saturday from the institution.
He's always going to be part of my life, and even today, he's somewhere around.
Making India proud. That is the news at this hour. Good night.